Yeah, I will do it later.
Welcome and stuff.
And we are live.
And do I need microphones?
No, you have microphone on the table. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the next Brno session. Today we have special guests because we have finally somebody abroad. Ivar Grimstad from Eclipse Foundation, Jakarta EE Developer Advocate, if I remember correctly your title. And today we are going to learn about Jakarta EE and AI, which I'm personally very curious about. But today we have also a very special day because we were able to secure these awesome t-shirts. So if you will stay for the after party, there is a t-shirt for everybody in room A321. So please enjoy the talk, and then we have after party in the room A321. Floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. And so this talk is called Jakarta EE Meets AI, with the subtitles integrating AI in the enterprise application, and that's kind of the focus. So we'll get into that, and I can assure you, you won't have to learn Python today. You can stick with Java. My name is, as I said, Ivar Grimstad. I'm the Jakarta EE Developer Advocate at Eclipse Foundation. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can pick your flavor and engage with it there if you want. I'm a Java champion. I'm an Oracle Ace Pro. I'm also representing Eclipse Foundation in the Java Community Process Executive Committee. And as of today, we won the election, so we're going to be there 2 more years. We beat both Microsoft and Google. So that's quite an achievement. So applaud for that to me. So yeah, I'm also an Apache NetBeans committer. And I run a Java use group in Malmö, so if you're in that area, you can attend a meetup like this one, or even speak at the jug if you want. So a little history lesson. Who is born after 1995? One, yeah, it's always one. So in 1995, that's when Java was created. So next year it's 30 years old. That's pretty amazing for a programming language. And Java was initially created for devices, for tablets. But what it really gained momentum was on the server. And that's why they, in '99, created J2EE. And J2EE was a tremendous success. Like, if it hadn't been for J2EE, we would probably be in the .NET Java user group there. Because I don't think Java would have been around, because it was a server that was conquered by Java. Everything runs with Java on the server. If you think about the more heavy lifting of the financial institutions and all the payments around. So J2EE is more or less the reason why we're here. It was maybe a little over-engineered and a little complex here and there. So in 2004, Spring Framework came around. And so we shifted from one XML format to another. And Spring was gaining popularity. It was very good response to J2EE, and got the people behind J2EE to think a little and do some reorganizing or refactoring, or maybe make it a little leaner, and also change the name to Java EE. But I'm pretty sure that you still get recruiters on LinkedIn that are asking for J2EE developers today. Even though it's in 2006, it's 18 years ago that the name went away and was replaced by Java EE. In 2009, we got JSR 330, which the Spring folks brought forward and introduced dependency injection in Java. So with the add inject annotation, and you can use add inject interchangeably with at AutoWire in Spring. And around there in 2013, Java's EE7 came. And at that time, Spring Framework 4 and Java EE7 was very comparable. Maybe Java EE7 was a little bit better at the time, but then they came with Spring Boot, and that kind of changed everything again. And that's more or less the industry leader today. Jakarta EE came around in 2017 when it was transferred from the JCP over to Eclipse Foundation, and we changed the name again to Jakarta EE. Since then, we did a couple of releases, among one Jakarta EE 9 in 2020, where we did the namespace change, and that is something that has rippled through the ecosystem in the years after. We're not going to do that again, by the way. And in 2024, this year, we're still hoping to get Jakarta 11 out the door before the end of the year. It looks a little shaky, but I can guarantee you core profile will be out. The web profile and platform may have to wait. But we'll do what we can to get it out. I'll get into details there. So Jakarta EE is all about specifications. And with the specifications, we have a document that describes it in human readable form. So it describes all the requirements for the technology. We have an API artifact in Maven Central that we as developers are using when we are programming. And we have a TCK, or test compatibility kit, that is used to test whether an implementation fulfills all the requirements of the specification. And if it does, it is a compatible implementation. And we need at least one compatible implementation in order to have a final specification. And there are often multiple compatible implementation to a specification, and the more the merrier. And Jakarta 10 is the latest release out there. It was released in September last year. And Jakarta 10, since in 9 we did the namespace change and we didn't do anything else, because we wanted to have this migration as easy as possible. And just imagine if we also changed the APIs with the namespace, then that transition, doing that migration of the namespace would have been a nightmare. But now it was fairly straightforward. So in 10 there was a lot of stuff that we were waiting for. All the blue ones were updated. So more than half of the specs got updates in Jakarta 10. And if we compare this one to 11, you can see we continue on that path. It's about half the specification get updates. We have one new specification in Jakarta data. And a lot of specifications aren't updated. It doesn't mean they're dead or anything. It's just that they're fairly good as they are, and they didn't get attention this time. They'll probably be updated some of them next time. I'll get to the AI part soon. I'll just talk a little bit about Jakarta 11. So all of these are specifications on its own with a compatible implementation, a TCK, and an API, and a compatible implementation, a TCK. And also the collection of all of them, the Jakarta 11 platform, is a specification with compatible implementations, TCK, and API. And if we take a subset of the platform, is the Jakarta 11 web profile. And web profile has been with us since Java EE 6 when it was introduced. And that is more for traditional web applications. So it's a little bit smaller than the entire platform. And in 10, we introduced the Jakarta 11, the core profile. And Jakarta 11 core profile also gets some updates here. And worth noting for core profile is the CDI Lite specification. It was new in 10. And CDI Lite gives us the possibility to resolve all the dynamic things, what is resolved dynamically at runtime and startup with CDI, the traditional, can now be resolved at compile time, so we can use GraalVM and compile to native. So that was the big thing and driver behind core profile. Also, core profile is the set of specifications that microprofile depend on. So it's kind of a specification that they can depend on a profile rather than individual specifications. Jakarta 11 will be compiled to 17, and we're using stuff up to 17 in the API. But we're making sure it runs on 17 and 21. So you can use later version of Java if you want. We're also trying to, now it may slip a little, but we're trying to establish a release cadence where it's a 2-year between releases. So when a so-called LTS of Java comes out, that is usually in September, or Java 21 came out in September last year, then 6 to 9 months after that, we want to release a major version of Jakarta. So that should be somewhere around summer, and we had planned on late July to release Jakarta 11, but there are some issues with the TCK that has to be fixed, and that's why it took a little longer. But the plan is to release Jakarta E12 in 2026, which will be like 9 months after Java 25, which comes out next September. So it's less than a year until the next LTS of Java. Which Java versions are you all on? Are you on 21? Yeah, 17, or 11, earlier 8.
23.
Yeah, 23. Good. Yeah. So we want to use the latest. So Jakarta 11 was actually done in May. We released a 11 milestone 4, and it's feature complete. All the API jars are out there. So all the individual specifications like persistence and servlets and whatnot are out there in Maven Central, and you can use it. Hibernate implements it. The persistence is out there, and we have servlet engines like Tomcat and Jetty have implemented the server spec, and this goes for all the specifications. So all compatible implementations, or at least one per each, has passed the TCK. So it's only for the platform, the collection of all of them, and the integration between the specs that we're waiting for now. And we're still hoping for late December. All right, so AI then. I guess that's why you're here. So, but before that, I want to go through a couple of the specifications I'm going to use in the demos to show how Jakarta EE kind of ties into the theme. And one of them is RESTful Web Services. And RESTful Web Services is an API for creating RESTful Web Services. But they also have a client API, so you can call and consume RESTful Web Services. And what they did in the latest version now is kind of a cleanup release where they removed some optional XML binding support, and also mentally prepared to get rid of their native component model and embrace CDI. They also did some other convenient stuff here and there. So I'll be using both the server side to create an API, as well as the client API for RESTful Web Services today. I'll also use CDI, and CDI is kind of the glues that glues everything together in the Jakarta platform, and it's short for context and dependency injection. And what we did in this release was to fully support records and seal types and priority and producers. The other were smaller updates. We also did a kind of restructuring of the specification document. So CDI has a lot of integration stuff, among others, to EJBs. So we moved those over to the platform, so where it more belongs. So CDI is just a pure CDI thing, and that will also make it easier if we down the road wants to change those integration requirements, or even remove some of them. Like if we want to replace EJBs fully by CDI, then it's easier to do it this way. But it's nothing that we as developers really notice. So. JSON binding didn't get any updates here, but I'll use that in the examples. All right. There is also one spec I'll just want to mention shortly. I'm not going to demo it here today, but and that is data, because data is a new specification in Jakarta 11. So how many Spring developers do we have here? A couple. Okay. So you will recognize this. So Spring Data has been a successful specification for Spring developers. But I can tell you that this isn't Spring Data. This is Jakarta Data. So we're copying the way of creating repositories from the way it's done in Spring, and offering it to Jakarta developers as well. So if Spring Data is the reason why you're using Spring, now you can also have that reason to use Jakarta. But we're doing more than that. We're also adding something that Spring Data doesn't have, and that is the Jakarta Data Query Language, which is a subset of the Jakarta Persistent Query Language. So you can add queries. This is kind of a simple example. There are lots of annotations you can use to create the Jakarta data queries in annotations rather than relying on the method names, which can be kind of. It's nice for a programmer to have books by type, but if somebody changes that method name, then your application may not work any longer. And there's an opportunity here if you're want to create an open source carrier and be a superhero within open source, is to look at implementations of Jakarta data. It's a small spec, and there are no implementation in Apache as far as I know. So if you want to be an Apache committer and do some work for the Open JPA spec implementation at Apache, look at Jakarta data, look at how it's done for Hibernate and OpenLiberty, and see if we can do the same for OpenJPA, and you will never look back. You will be a hero forever in the open source community. The same goes for Eclipse Link at Eclipse Foundation, by the way. So the AI then. And I don't want to have so many slides, so I'll go directly in a demo. In this demo, I'm going to use a lot of different technologies, and I'm going to do the same app. It's a very simple app, very stupid app, but I think I can get the message through by we're not focusing on the app logic. We're just looking at the integration stuff. And usually, when we talk about integrating with AI systems, you have an application that you call an AI in some way. Whether that AI is somewhere on the wire somewhere else, or it's something you have internally or something, but it's usually some other part of the system you're calling. Of course, you can do it within your application as well. And of course, you can write everything in Python. But I'm not talking about of creating the model. That is somebody else's job. We're using it. And in my examples, I'm going to use OpenAI. But if your favorite with some other AI stuff, you can just switch that with some other technologies. All these kind of things support all this stuff. And of course, Spring has AI. I mean, they have everything. So why not AI as well? So are you using Spring AI? You looked at it. So I'll demo Spring AI here because it's actually pretty cool. I'm a little envious there, but we'll get there. So this is a Spring AI application, and I just generated it from the Spring initializer. I chose the starter web and the starter for AI. So I did the web since I'm creating a RESTful endpoint, and I have the AI. And here you can see I chose the Spring AI, OpenAI Spring boot starter. If I were using something else, I would use Spring AI, something else, Spring boot starter. So they have support for most of them. Other than that, it's nothing here. It's just the standard Hello World application you would get from the initializer. So the code is a Spring Boot application. That's how a Spring Boot application starts up. I have a resource, the REST controller, so it's a RESTful endpoint. I'm auto-wiring in a component there that is one of my own. So I have it here as my Spring AI service. And that's, I'll get to that in a later demo, why this is a good idea. I could have done everything in this class. But I'll just split the AI stuff into a separate component. It's a get resource that takes in a message and takes this message and calls the AI with it. And the Spring AI service is very empty now because I haven't implemented it yet. It's a Spring component, so I can inject it. It's Spring Bean. So what I can do here now, since I have Spring AI in my dependencies, is that I can auto-wire in a chat client, but since they changed the API, it's not a chat client you need any longer. So I would need a chat client builder. So then I have a builder for my chat client. And with this builder, I can take the chat client builder and build it, because that's what builders do. And then I can send a prompt, and this prompt should be the message I'm receiving here. Sorry, from this prompt, I can call the AI, and then from the response I get back, I get the content, which is a string. So it's a fluent API, very simple to use. It's pretty logical. You know, this is you get the client, you build a prompt, and you call it, and you get the content. So it's just nice, very nice. And of course I have to configure it a little bit. So I have to give it a API key to the system I'm using. If there is something else, I would use another. That's clear so far. So let's run this one. Clean package. Let's do this, and then I'll run it. Oh, sorry. Jar. So I'll start it up. Of course, when we start Quarkus afterwards, it will be faster than this. The string is kind of slow, right? Then I'll just call it, sorry. You can see I was in Prague yesterday, so I've already have the prompt in Czech here. But let's just call a joke to there. So this one is now calling out to OpenAI and back and getting a joke. And if I wanted to do this in Czech, then it will answer in this, and I can always, I can say if it's a good joke. Usually it's not a good one, but you see how simple it is. I just have this dependency in my stuff, and I get this chat line builder, and I can just do it. Regular kind of Spring stuff. So Spring AI is fairly simple, straightforward to use. And then we have Quarkus, of course, and Quarkus is kind of a little bit closer to our heart because it's based on the Jakarta EE specifications. They even implement some of them, not all fully, but enough so we can recognize it. And I'll build the same application using Quarkus. They also have a good starter on the web page. You can just generate it, and that's what I've done here as well. And the structure is very similar to the Spring Boot. You have some properties which versions you want to use, some Quarkus magic going on, and then it's the rest, the JSON-B, and the OpenAI version from Quarkus. There are probably newer versions than this out now, but and the other thing is just the regular Quarkus plugin stuff. And this application is even simpler than the Spring because you don't need the application thing, the Spring Boot starter, because they take care of it for you. And rather than the REST controller, we use the path. That was what we do in Jakarta EE. We just say this is the path it runs on. So that means it's a RESTful web service. And then we use add inject rather than autowire. And inject this AI service, which is the same structure I used with the Spring application. And then we have the get mapping, or at get as we call it. We're producing text. We're taking in the param from the query, and just calling the AI service with this. And the AI service, and this is where it gets cool, because in Quarkus, I don't even have to implement anything. I just create an interface, and I say that this is an AI service with the register AI service annotation, and then I can say that this message is a user message because a user puts it in. There are lots of other annotations like system message and all kinds of configuration stuff you can do here and like for all your stuff, but it's all annotation based. So it's very kind of what we're used to from the Jakarta, where we have a lot of annotations, and we kind of like that CDI way of doing things. Same way here, the only configuration you need is the API key. So running this one, it's Quarkus, maven clean package, and here I can use the Quarkus run maven plugin, so I don't have to type twice. So it starts off with all the stuff I need, and now I can do the same call to this one, and the responses from the different ways I'm doing these AI calls may differ a little bit, because there may be different models that are used. There may be a different how they parse the text and stuff. But I'm just keeping it as simple as possible. So it's with default. So it's as simple. So I don't complicate things with the framework specific stuff. But here's how you see how easy it is to integrate with AI from Quarkus. It's like nothing. It's no code at all. So it's in some points even better than Spring, especially since we like this way of coding rather than the instantiation way in Spring. So how about Jakarta EE then? How are we going to do this if we have kind of a purebred Jakarta EE application? And it works fairly fine, and most of that is because first I'll show you the application. So I have the Jakarta AI application here, and you can see I'm using the milestone 4 of 11. I'm running on 23, of course. It's the newest version. We always use the newest version, and that is all that configuration I need for Jakarta EE. I have a provided dependency, and that is kind of the strength of Jakarta EE. You don't package this stuff into your application artifact. That is provided by the implementation for you. So I can swap implementations without affecting my code. I don't have to recompile. I can just drop it there and there. And that is one of the strengths with Jakarta EE. So here I've configured 3 different runtimes I can use. And I'm using the Open Liberty as a runtime, or Pyara, or Whitefly. So I'll run these 3 different points of the demo. What I'm going to use here for the first one is Open Liberty. So because Open Liberty also have the same thing as actually Quarkus has, is the developer mode to run. So Jakarta, yeah. So I can run maven plain package, and then Liberty dev. Then they also have the Liberty run, which will run it, but Liberty dev would also pick up changes, so I don't have to restart it. So then it's a little bit slower to start, but it's still probably faster than Spring Boot would be. The application here is you'll recognize this from the Quarkus, but since this is what Quarkus gives you, the application, you don't have to write this. That's kind of the Spring Boot application. You create. So this is how you create a RESTful application in Jakarta EE. You extend the application class and set the application path, and then the resource is exactly the same. So it has the path annotation, injects the client component, and then gets the message and returns whatever I call it. So and the OpenAI client, that's where I'm going to do the Jakarta EE specific stuff. And since we don't have a specification for AI and yet, we don't have any libraries within Jakarta EE, since I only have this dependent dependency, this provided dependency. So I don't have anything available directly for tied to Jakarta EE, no, tied to AI. But luckily, all these models are just like, that's a RESTful endpoint. So I can use the REST client to call this. And if I look at the OpenAI chat documentation, this says everything. I'm going to call this endpoint. with this JSON, and I'll get this back. And here you can see what I'm sending in is the content attribute. That's what I'm interested in. The other thing is just like boilerplate. And what I'm interested in when getting out is the content via returns for me. And this is where the JSON binding comes in as well. Because JSON binding is serializing JSON to Java objects. So if I have a Java object that has the same attributes as the JSON I'm pulling in, it will automatically just populate those fields. If I change the names in a Java object, I would have to put some annotations to map it. But the easiest is just to have one that is similar. And most of these APIs have some Swagger or something. You can just generate these clients, just drag in that jar, or they provide a jar for you. What I'm going to do is do this manually and show that it's not that hard. And so what I have to do is to create one content or completion, because this is a chat completion. So I would have to create a completion object and a completion response object. And I'm not going to have you suffer through me typing this, so I've created a little cheat there, so I'll just call it completion. So this class is mapping those fields that I'm interested in the JSON, right? So it's the content that I'm sending, that's the message. And the other thing is just what I need to be able to parse down to it. In the same way, I have to create a completion response. And here also I just take the minimum of what I need, because I'm interested in the content, and the content is part of the message class, and the message class is part of choices, and choices is part of the response. So you can see it's the response, you have the choices, the content, the message. So I'm just replicating the structure of the fields I'm interested in. And when I've done that, I'm ready to go. So in the client here, I can create this request object. So I'm just taking the completion and adding the same information you can see here, GPT-4o, and the message. That's the message. Then I'll just instantiate a client. That's the RESTful Web Service client. And then I'll grab the response out from this one, or call it. So I'll do the response where I take the client, I say which URL I'm going at. That's the one they had here. And then I say it's JSON, give them the API key, and post the entity, which is the completion object I've created up here. And what I get back in response here, that is the completion response object, and I'll just grab the content from that one. And that would be to read the entity as a completion response, and then traverse down, get the choices, get first, get message, get content. And of course, I can probably get null pointers everywhere here, but this is a demo. So in production, you would do it a little bit more robust. But this is kind of the gist of it. So you can see there are these 3 steps. It's a little more verbose than the others, but you can still do everything here without a single dependency in your application. And let's just prove that by calling. And you can see OpenLiberty has reloaded here, so I can just do the call again. And when I do that, it's now using the REST API for OpenAI. And whether that's an internal service or an external one, that is up to you. It would be the same way of calling them. So you don't have to depend on any third-party libraries, because third-party libraries can contain bugs. And here if it's bugs, you've created it yourself, and that's easier to fix. All right, but we're not super happy with this way of doing things. We wanted a little little simpler in a way. So and there are ways of getting this simpler, and that is, yeah, you have to do some third-party libraries, and LangChain for J is probably the de facto standard out there today. Anybody using it? Yeah. Heard of it? Yeah. Want to use it? So LangChain for J plays very well along with Jakarta EE as well, and if we if I want to use that, then I have to add a dependency to my to my stuff here. So LangChain dependencies. So I think it's a little bit newer now. Stay there. So I'm adding the LangChain for J core thing. That's kind of the core libraries, and then I'm adding the dependency for the system I'm calling, and I'm doing OpenAI. But they have for just name it. You know. So you can do anything here if you want to use another model. So when I've done that, I don't really need this. This OpenAI client any longer. What I can do here is do the LangChain for J thing, and what I can do then is just say the OpenAI language model with the API key, and then generate with a message and get the content. So it's very similar to the Quarkus and the Spring, right? I just get the content. I don't need to inject this one any longer. I don't really need the completion and completion response any longer. I'll just keep it there just so we can compare afterwards. So from this, by doing it yourself without a library, to adding one library, you can do it with these two lines. So it gets simpler, but we're not really happy yet, because we don't like this kind of extension to this model and doing this. That's kind of the Spring way of doing things. So we like CDI. So what we can do is to wrap LangChain for J in CDI, so we can inject it, and that is very simple. So what I have to do then is to create what we call a CDI producer. So I call that OpenAI producer. You can call it whatever you want, because the name isn't very important in this case. It's just so you can recognize what it is. I'll give it a CDI scope, the application scope. So it's basically a singleton, but you could have it in other scopes as well. It doesn't really matter. It depends on what you're doing in it. And then I'll give it a method with the producers. And here's where the only place where you have to be a little careful, because we have a name conflict in Jakarta EE with the RESTful resources producer and the CDI producer. And we are producing CDI beans here. The other one is producing media types for a RESTful endpoints. So do you want to choose the correct one? And we can return, have it public, open, no, what was it? LangChain, OpenAI LangChain model, get model, like this. And then in this here, we can just do the same thing as we do here, but not return the content, just return the model. So now I'm doing the OpenAI stuff, essentially the model at one place. And in this one, I can now do an add inject the OpenAI language model. Let's call it model, like this. And then I don't have to instantiate it like this. I can just use the injector model. So now I'm having a CDI enabled LangChain for J chat client. And now I'm back to just doing this inject, doing this message. So now it looks very much like what you would do in for example, Quarkus and Spring. And just to prove that it actually works, it has reloaded here. So let's do the call and say, maybe ask for a data joke. I don't know. I'm not sure what it says, but or if it's funny. You're not laughing, so it's probably not funny. So that is how easy you can incorporate LangChain4j in Jakarta EE and doing the CDI programming model. So we're familiar and we like it and we enjoy it. If there are other things, it's very easy to create these CDI producers. But what if I really like Spring and Spring AI is the thing? Well, you can actually do Spring AI with Jakarta EE as well. And let me show you how. First of all, let's revisit the Spring AI application here. And remember, it is a Spring Boot application, and it has this REST controller, and it has this component. And here is why I created this as a separate component, because this is where the AI magic or AI stuff happens. So this is the class I'm interested in. This is the one I want to have access to in my Jakarta EE application. And luckily, it is a Spring Bean. So it's not part of something bigger. I can just have this one. And ideally, I would create a jar file with just this one and the stuff this one needed, because this is the only thing I'm interested in. But I'm going to show you how we can take an entire Spring Boot application and use it in Jakarta EE. But Spring Boot does some magic with the jar files, with the Spring Boot Maven plugin. So a Spring Boot application jar cannot be used as a jar dependency in a regular Java application. So what we need to do is a little change here, and that change is to say that it's not going to be an application anymore. It's just going to be a jar file. So I'm not going to run this one. I'm only going to inject it in. But since I do that, I cannot test it with Spring Test, because Spring Test depends on loading the Spring context. And if I don't have an application, it won't load the context and then it won't work. So I have to get rid of that one as well. And since I've been a good sysadmin and actually written a test, or I have a test here, this test won't run. And any ideas what we do with failing tests? We delete them, right? So get rid of the test, so we don't have to worry about that. And when that is done, I can now stop over Liberty here and go to the Spring AI, and now I have to do clean install, right? Because package we just created locally, but I need it in my Maven repository, so I can consume it from the Jakarta application. So now it's in my M2 folder, and I can go in my Jakarta EE application here, and now I could get rid of the LangChain4j dependency because I'm going to use Spring, but I'll just keep them there so we can have all the code in here. So I have to add a dependency, and this should be the Duke's Spring AI, the same application I have here, the Spring application. It's the Duke's Spring AI. So I'm injecting this into, or adding it as a dependency in my Jakarta EE application. So now I'm pulling Spring Boot application in. And when I do that, I can do the same trick as I did with the OpenAI thing and create a CDI producer. So I'll call this Spring AI producer. And this one also going to be application scoped. I'm going to do three things here. First is I need since these are Spring beans and not CDI beans, I need the Spring context. So I'll just have the Spring context here available for me, and this is the annotation config application context. Then I'm gonna add these beans into this context so I can pull them out again. So I'm going to register these beans into the Spring context in the post constructor of this producer. And so I'm just instantiating it, and I'm taking this Spring AI application. Like the entire application, this Spring Boot application, is the one I'm loading in to the context, and I'm just refreshing the context. And when I've done that, I can create the producer method that will just get the Spring AI service from the context, because it's loaded with the application. So these 3 steps is all I have to do. Of course, if there were more advanced things, I may have to do a little bit more, but this is kind of the basics. And then I can, in my here, rather than injecting the OpenAI model here, I can now do inject private Spring AI service. So now I'm injecting the service in there, and rather than calling this OpenAI model, I can now return the Spring AI service call message, the same way I did in the Spring application. Here, call message. So this is now identical as I'm doing here. It's pretty cool. So if you like Spring AI, you can do it in Jakarta. Let's just run it so you don't think I'm cheating here. Jakarta AI. And I'll run it with the main clean package. I'll use Pyara this time. Cargo run. So we switch to implementation. So you see, I haven't done any. The code, the application is the same. Oh, well, I added the Spring stuff, but other than that, it's the same application. I'm just rather than using the Open Liberty, I'm now using the Pyara runtime, and this is a little slower. This is the Cargo Maven plugin that is a little bit slower because they don't have this this way of starting it from Maven. I could start it from command line and it would be pretty fast, but I just wanted to do it from Maven like this. So it is up and running now, and then I can do the call, and this one does the Spring AI from a Jakarta EE application. That's pretty awesome. Well, and we also have another project, and Helidon is an open source project from Oracle, and Helidon is core profile compatible. They filed a certification request and it's listed on the Jakarta page as core profile compatible. It's the only implementation that is only core profile. We have Open Liberty and Wi-Fi are also core profile, and Pyara core profile certified, but they also implement the web profile and the platform. Helidon only does core profile. So that's the only one that only does that. And Helidon is a pretty cool. It's a very. It's probably fair to say that it's the Oracle's response to Spring Boot and Quarkus. And it is very simple. It's the same way of thinking as the others, but it's a little bit closer to how Jakarta is doing things. So it has the same kind of a little bit Helidon magic, and then here I've added the LangChain for J dependencies as you saw. I've also added the Spring dependency, and if you're very observant, you can see this is another dependency than the one I had, because this is for, if you want to look at it, you can look at a Spring component that isn't it doesn't have the RESTful endpoints. It just has the stuff, so you don't have to kind of remove tests and stuff. But it is exactly the same thing, and I can sort of prove it by just taking this one and saying it's the Spring AI I'm using. And it also has, you have to say it's microprofile core stuff, and then almost JSON binding, some more JSON binding, and some logging. So it is the bare minimum of what this application does. And as you've seen before, it's a Jakarta EE RESTful web service application. It has the same thing here. I could have done the REST client here as well, and that would actually been a little bit better because I could have used the type-safe REST client for microprofile, but it would be very similar to the plain Jakarta EE way. I have the OpenAI producer and the Spring AI producer exactly the same as the one I've shown you already. and just to prove that it works. Now it's using the LangChain4j producer. So let's go and start it. Yeah, so this cargo plugin is not very super good, but it's what we have. So Helidon. Maven clean package. They don't have when you use the Maven, they don't have this Quarkus run and Liberty run and that kind of stuff. You have to do with the Java jar target. They have a CLI you can use for Helidon, but that's kind of a hassle to add. So let's stick with Maven. That works. This is very fast. It's built. It only runs on 21 and higher. Yeah, and it's built from bottom up with virtual threads. So it has fairly good throughput as well. And this one will do the same thing. Now it uses the OpenAI LangChain4j thing. I can also use Spring with Helidon, and it works just as fine. So that's pretty cool. I think. I mean, such a fast, minimal Jakarta EE application using Spring AI. It's pretty cool. All right.
There was, I noticed there was Jandex dependency. What was it used for?
Sorry?
There was Jandex dependency in
Jandex.
small I Jandex.
What is Jandex?
Yeah, why is it used there?
I would have to investigate. I don't really know. I think this is what the Helidon started generated for me. It could also be that it's something that is needed for the JSON stuff. I'm not sure what Jandex is.
Annotation processor.
Is it annotation? Okay, it's for the CDI producers, maybe, or something else. No, it's annotation processor. Yeah. So maybe it's not even needed. It was just there for the maybe they do some enhancements on the compiled stuff. I'm not sure. Maybe so. You'll have to ask the Helidon folks. All right, so E10 is the current version. That's what was out there. 11 is coming, hopefully very soon. With 9 we did a namespace. With 10 we introduced core profile, and with 11 we're on Java 21. We're embracing records, added data, making it more CDI centric, and doing some cleanup of the platform. We hope that will help boost the developer productivity and performance. We're on 11 on Java 17, but we're supporting 21. And it works with 23, as you saw in the demos. Jakarta EE AI has a lot of ways of doing it. I mean, you saw, I tried actually to do the same trick with Spring using Quarkus, but since you do a lot of stuff at the compile time, it won't really work, I think. So I would like to see that, but you can see how easy it is to use LangChain4j if you want to use that. You can use the vanilla REST approach. You can even use Spring AI in Jakarta EE if you want. If you want to learn more about Jakarta EE, you can do this LinkedIn course on that I have available. If you ping me on LinkedIn, you can get a free link. If you scan this QR code, it will go on your subscription. If you want to learn more about Jakarta EE, you go to Jakarta EE webpage. We have a starter on Start Jakarta EE where you can generate these projects I've shown you. They have some demo Hello World stuff and a little bit things, but otherwise you can go to the GitHub repository with the Duke AI and look at the code and look at all of the different samples. And that was what I had. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you'll join us for some drinks and food and t-shirts, and we can talk then. But we can take a couple of questions, and I have stickers for those who want stickers. So I'll put them here. I'll bring them in there afterwards. But I have a special gift, a nice Jakarta beanie for the first question.
Is there respect for AI being cool?
Is there respect for AI? You know what's funny? That is the same question that a guy won the beanie for in Prague yesterday. So you actually earned this one. So that's good. So yes, no, we don't have respect for AI. Currently, as you see, LangChain for J is like 0.35. Spring AI is actually 1.0 milestone 3. Quarkus, I'm not sure, 0.21 or something. And so it's still moving so fast that standardizing something now, we would have to break it tomorrow. So it's not really mature enough yet, is what we see. We would like to have the discussions going to see, is it even on the API we want to standardize, or is there somewhere else? People have to start using it.
The right place, because you can be in microprofile.
So would Jakarta EE be the right place or not? I think Jakarta EE, and you see here, this is enterprise applications that probably are using a lot more of Jakarta EE, would also benefit for some AI stuff. So that would be the natural place to put it. I know there is a initiative in microprofile to create a Jakarta EE or microprofile AI specification, which will be like CDI enabled LangChain for J. Basically the example I showed here with some more targeted annotations, a little bit like Quarkus does it. So I don't really know where they're going with that, but since things are changing so fast, I think having it there now to make a try to specify it is good. I think if there is ever going to be a standard in the future, it's probably better suited to be in Jakarta EE because that will hit more users. But at this point, we're not there yet. I think it's what is it? Last year they started with the AI hype, so it's sort of, yeah. But good question. Thank you.
Yeah. So we've seen the prompt API. Probably there's some API that can generate, for example, images, whatever. But is there any API from Java that also facilitates creation of those models? Or basically not creation from scratch, of course, but filling it with your own data?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. So I'll just repeat it for the video. If there are any APIs to kind of fill the models with data rather than just consuming them, yes, I think that there are. You have these RAG APIs, like LangChain for J, and I guess Quarkus and Spring also support those. So you can kind of augment the model with your own data, so it will work on your domain. That's supported in all these libraries. If you're talking about building a model, I think there are some Java libraries for it. I can't list the names of them, but you can interact with those like in a regular Java application. What's also coming in newer versions of Java is better support for calling native libraries. So you can call the Python libraries directly from Java with much better security and performance than you could before. So you can actually use the existing Python things to do that stuff if you want to write the kind of main logic in Java.
Maybe I missed that when you call the method prompt, like is it generating JSON which is compatible with all the AI providers?
Yeah, so that's also a good question. Does these libraries create the JSON that is compatible with all? I think you saw I added a dependency that was specific for OpenAI. So that will be generated JSON for that. But if I added something else, it would generate what's needed for that API. But it's kind of a common thing. You can just say prompt and it will generate how the model is expected to use it. So the same thing if you use is it Olama or Llama that is internal in a JVM, you can still use LangChain for J for that and call, and then that would just channel through a Java call, I guess, to that stuff.
Okay, so when they have some when the specific stuff that will be probably like obfuscated,
Yes, so it will be
interface is just prompt.
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
is there an effort to have like at least the communication standardized? Because I assume that every provider can have different JSON objects.
Exactly. So that is also like where should we standardize? Is it around the API or is it around the models? And right now all the vendors have different models, different APIs, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But that's where I guess maybe Jakarta EE is not the right place. That should probably be somewhere else. Something more. I'm not sure if we are the ones that should standardize it, because that's not only Java. That would be all kind of languages. And if you look at LangChain for J, that's a Java implementation of LangChain. And LangChain, so we have LangChain for Python, and LangChain for C, and LangChain for everything. So they have sort of done it for Java with LangChain for J, but for the others you do it for other languages. So they implement kind of the LangChain protocol, or whatever you call it. So that is also one step of going.
Even OpenAI changed
Yes.
the formality version.
Yeah.
So is there a fight for the best?
Is there a fight for it?
I'm
I'm pretty sure there's a fight for everything that is possible to fight over. So yeah. All right. Thank you, and see you in there.
Thank you, Ivar. Okay, put the present after. So please come to the end of the hall, A321. There is food, there is beer. Enjoy. Thank you very much.